Welcome back. If you're a focused learner, eager to unpack some seriously complex, boundary-pushing ideas, well, you're exactly in the right place today. Have you ever wondered what it would take to literally replicate heaven right here on Earth? Seriously, think about it. Today, we're going to objectively decode a fascinating and highly radical utopian lifestyle outlined in our source text, a model that's designed to do exactly that. It's called the second home of Lifechanyuan. We are going to look strictly at what the source material tells us about this incredibly ambitious project, breaking down its philosophy, its structure, and its pretty grand goals.
Okay, let's dive into this and peel the onion. First up, the utopian vision. Second, daily operations. Third, radical rules. Fourth, the three cornerstones. And finally, history and future. So let's start with a foundational definition straight from the source text itself. The second home is described as this brand new, paradise-like production and living model. But, why create this in the first place? Well, according to the text, the founder, a man named Xu Feng, proposed this model as an urgent solution to a looming crisis of the human mind. The source claims Xu Feng actually foresaw a dark, highly mechanized future where humanity's living conditions would become cold, calculated, and managed entirely by what he calls biorobots. To counter this kind of dystopian threat, the second home was conceptualized as a sanctuary. It's meant to be a completely alternative way for humanity to live, breathe, and thrive entirely outside of that predicted dark trajectory.
Section 1. The Utopian Vision, a literal heaven on Earth.
Now, this group doesn't just want to build, a nice, friendly neighborhood. They are aiming to copy what they call the 1,000-year world of heaven directly onto Earth. Just listen to this quote from the text. They say, "No one will keep lost articles found on the roadside, and doors will not need to be locked at night." It paints a picture of absolute pristine harmony. The source claims that if humanity actually adopts this model, we're going to enter an era where resources are perfectly utilized, everyone treats the entire world as one loving family, and there's basically zero crime or deceit. On top of that, the text incredibly promises that in this model, even the weather will consistently be good for harvesting. I mean, this isn't just a political goal, it is a promise of universal happiness, total freedom, and blessedness. It's a vision of unbroken perfection. Moving to Section 2, daily operations. Because you have to wonder, how does a utopia actually function day to day? So how does a society like this operate on, say, a random Tuesday? The source outlines a highly structured, highly practical collective living arrangement. The daily life features are heavily focused on pure efficiency and maximizing your free time. Workdays are strictly capped at just 6 hours. But here is the massive shift. In the second home, all household chores, cooking, and daily affairs, they're officially classified as your work. You pick your job based entirely on your personal talents and interests, striving to just excel at it efficiently. And because the whole community operates cooperatively, the text states that the young and the elderly are fully cared for by the collective. This totally removes the traditional burden of individual caregiving, giving every active member ample time for leisure, learning, and self-improvement. To organize all of this seamlessly, they use a system the text calls holographic management. Imagine a workplace where traditional top-down management, your classic micromanager boss, is completely replaced by mutual service. The guiding philosophy here is that everyone owns nothing, yet has everything. By contributing exactly what you can and taking only what you genuinely need, every single member functions simultaneously as both a master and a servant to the broader community. It completely and totally flattens the hierarchy. Think about how much faster projects might move in your own life if the absolute only rule was those who propose take charge. And this brilliantly illustrates how they view individual contribution. There's a phrase from the text, 8 immortals cross the sea, each revealing their own expertise. In the second home, you don't wait for permission from some sluggish committee. If you have an idea, you are actively empowered to just execute it. It's an environment designed entirely around letting individuals showcase their talents without a single ounce of bureaucratic friction. On to Section 3, Radical Rules. And fair warning, this is where we really depart from societal norms. We're peeling back the next layer to neutrally examine the community's most controversial departures from modern society. This is where their vision drastically diverges from the world we know. Traditional society is deeply built on national borders, religious institutions, formal marriage, and private nuclear families, right? Well, the second home completely abolishes all of that. The text states their most significant feature is literally no countries, no religions, no political parties, no marriage and families, no husband-wife relationships. Instead of small, isolated family units, members flow freely between global branches as one massive international family, where everyone is simply considered a brother, sister, relative, or lover. So a really crucial point here is how they approach romance in the total absence of traditional marriage. And we're reporting this exactly as it's laid out in the source text. The second home fiercely advocates for absolute freedom in romantic love and sexual relations. The text frames romantic love as a precious gift from what they call the greatest creator. Furthermore, it describes sexual relations as a highly effective means to reach a wonder state of extreme bliss and to truly perceive the nature of the mind. Because of this, safeguarding the freedom to fully enjoy these relations without the strict bounds of traditional marriage is considered a core cultural characteristic, basically a divine will within their community. It is a profound shift from how almost every modern society operates today.
Section 4. The 3 cornerstones. So, what holds a radical society like this together?
When you strip away countries, religions, and traditional families, you really have to ask what actually keeps this from falling apart. The source text explicitly outlines 3 non-negotiable elements required to ensure the second home operates perfectly and effectively leads humanity into a new era. First, you have the guide. Second, you have the theory. And third, the people, specifically referred to as Chanyuan celestials. These are members who've been rigorously nurtured by the community's highly specific values for over a decade. Looking a bit closer at these cornerstones, and again, heavily emphasizing that we are reporting these religious claims exactly as they appear in our source, the first is their founder, Feng. The text refers to him as the messenger of the greatest creator, and literally the incarnation of God, Buddha, and saint all in one. It claims he holds the exact scene of heaven inside his mind, allowing him to replicate it anywhere on Earth. The second cornerstone is their theoretical system, primarily known as the 800 values for New Era human being. According to the text, members absolutely must use these values to thoroughly purify their minds. The logic they use is that without a perfect, purified mind, the operating procedures of the home simply will not work.
And finally, Section 5. History and future. Let's see how this actually builds in the real world. We've talked a lot about theory. Let's ground this explainer in their actual real-world timeline. Lifechanyuan was founded back in 2001. By April 2009, they had successfully established 12 second homes across various provinces in China, including places like Yunnan, Xinjiang, and Guizhou. However, their physical utopia was short-lived. The source notes that because of their highly advanced and deeply controversial theories regarding the absence of marriage and the absolute freedom of sex, the government simply did not support them. They were eventually disbanded on the grounds of being an illegal organization, a move that ultimately forced the founder, Feng, to relocate to Canada. That disbandment created a major, very real logistical hurdle that they are currently facing today. It's a stark, pragmatic contrast to their lofty philosophical goals. While Feng successfully purchased land in Canada to establish a brand new headquarters and a miniature heaven, the text explains that most Lifechanyuan members are currently forced to stay in China. Due to practical, real-world obstacles like incredibly strict passport and visa issues, this international family is right now a divided paradise. Many devoted members are simply unable to physically migrate to participate in the construction of their new home. But despite these massive geographical and governmental setbacks, their overarching ambition remains just staggering. Which brings us to a highly specific number, 256. This represents the exact amount of global branches Feng ultimately aims to establish worldwide. According to the text, the master plan is to first build a terrestrial paradise in Canada designed for exactly 300 people, and then expand to 256 branches globally. Each branch is designed to house between 30 to 300 individuals, seamlessly flowing freely between them across the globe, entirely without borders. All of this leaves us with a final, highly provocative question. Will humanity ultimately trade its deeply rooted traditional societal structures for this radical vision of a terrestrial paradise? The source material is an open invitation, actively calling for people with resources, open minds, and vision to participate in what they passionately consider the greatest endeavor of our era. Whether you view it as a necessary, beautiful evolution of human society or an impossibly radical social experiment, their absolute dedication to this alternative lifestyle is undeniable. If this deep dive sparked your curiosity, I highly encourage you to check out the links and source materials provided to learn more about the second home for yourself. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.